Cavs are in the middle of their worst stretch of the season, and a lot of people are wondering, is it time to freak out? Is it time to panic? Well, let's answer some Q&A questions. First question comes from MF Nacho. No, my bad, Lucho. My bad, dog. For one, I want to say that I don't think there's a need to overreact. But we do have to make sure that we lock in come playoff time regardless of the opponent. My question is, don't you think that Wade and Hunter should be on the floor together? They're both versatile, 6'8", plus competent wing defenders, but they've never shared the floor. I know Wade is technically our backup big, but I do believe him and Hunter's size, they would be able to overwhelm teams. I think that they should share the floor together in specific scenarios, but not regularly, because ultimately Dean Wade is a worse version of DeAndre Hunter, which is to say they're not super compatible on the floor together. Because if you run Dean Wade at the 4, right? Let's say you're having Evan Mobley at the 5, and then DeAndre Hunter at the 3, or maybe you want to run Dean Wade at the 3, right? And then you have Donovan Mitchell in there. Donovan Mitchell in maybe Ty Jerome. You don't really have anybody in there other than Evan Mobley who can really facilitate. Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell who can facilitate, which could be a problem when it comes to passing. You have spacers, but Dean Wade's not the best spacer you could have out there. Like Max Strus is similar as a defender, not as long as Dean Wade, obviously, but a much better three-point shooter, a facilitator, and somebody who can get his own shot. So I just think offensively and defensively, what you're sacrificing offensively on that lineup is not worth it, because the output's just not going to be the same, if that makes sense. So I think that's why they try to only go to that lineup when they have to for specific situations, because I think they would prefer being able to run more guys who can get their own shot while also hold their own defensively, because the extra length is just not normally necessary in most situations. But thank you for the question. The next question comes from Tate Skitrick, who says, what do you say is the best way for this Cavs team to get back on track and really stop this losing streak? Granted, they're on the road. Thanks, Q. I'm first. I think they have to figure out what their motivation is for the rest of the season. This looks like an unfocused bunch right now, right? They seem to be fighting that battle of looking ahead, right? They're not locked in. They're other guys are getting to their spots easily. They're not beating guys to spots. They're not really. They want to be at a different part of the season than the one that they're in. They're not where they aren't where their feet are right now. That's the best way to put it. This team is not where their feet are right now, right? They're in March. Their mind is in late April right now, and that's not good. So they got to figure out a way to recalibrate themselves to get back to being where their feet are. You know, it's a very dangerous place when you start doing that. And I think that's the challenge for Kenny Atkinson, is you got to get these guys to get back to where their feet are, because they're not focused. This is not the same basketball team we saw coming out the All-Star break. They were super focused coming out this All-Star break. Right now, they're not focused, and it's really hurting them the most defensively, but low-key also offensively, because some of these, some possessions they have, man, I'm just this is not the team that I used to watch during the season that would look and hunt for the best shot possible. It just seems like they're settling for a lot of bad shots lately. They aren't where their feet are. They need to get there. They need to be where their feet are. All right, Dan says, Hey, Q, been hearing a bit about how some people think these losses are necessary as we get closer to the ramp-up period in the last few games of the season to help fix some of the issues that could arise in the playoff time. Do you expect to see any major changes or intensity changes in the last few games of the season? Or do you think they'll hold that type of intensity in until the very first game of the playoffs for health's sake? Thanks for everything through the years, brother. I think that's always a dangerous strategy to go into the playoffs with, right? I get why teams do it, right? Because being healthy is important, but there's physical health and there's mental health, right? And yes, you could be physically healthy, but if you ain't right up here, if you're not locked in up here, it don't matter how how healthy your body is, right? So I do think that this Cavs team needs to take that part seriously because they have not won a championship yet. And what that means is they can't rely on muscle memory. The Cavs with LeBron could rely on muscle memory. I could care less what the Cavs did in March with LeBron because ultimately LeBron has the muscle memory to carry the Cavaliers through the playoffs, right? He's done it so many times. So you don't really care about it when it's LeBron. But this team ain't got LeBron. Donovan Mitchell is not LeBron. This Cavs team has not won a championship. They don't have that muscle memory. They need to learn that muscle memory. And the way you learn that muscle memory is by doing it over and over and over again. And right now, they're kind of relaxing, having their mind ahead of themselves in a way that, they have not earned. So they need to be where their feet are. They need to have their head in the same place that their ass is in instead of up it. So they need to figure that out. They need to figure that part out, because right now I'm seeing a lot of feet. I'm seeing a lot of people mentally being in places where their feet aren't. I'm seeing a lot of minds not being at the proper vertical placement at times here. So that's really what it takes, right? And they're gonna have to figure that out. And I don't want them to figure that out the hard way, right? You don't wanna go down 0-1 and then have to shit your way back into a first round series. You aren't that experienced yet. You don't have that muscle memory. You've never sweeped a team in the playoffs. Y'all need to keep the intensity dialed up. Y'all not one of these teams that have enough experience to get ready. Y'all got to stay ready. And y'all got to figure out how you can get yourself to do that. That is the challenge for Kenny Atkinson. Big Bird says this. Is Donovan Mitchell's late game shooting in the past couple games an early sign of a potential issue in the playoffs? Personally, I'm not too concerned about the shots he's taking. Example, 3 on some of his more covered 3 instead of trying to find an open man. No, I think sometimes now Donovan Mitchell has played a lot of basketball, and sometimes he gets into this habit of just like in a regular season, he's going to take a bunch of bad shots that he's not going to take in the postseason in moments that matter. So I trust Donovan in end-of-game situations to do the right thing. I think he's proven that over his career. So I don't think that's something you have to be too worried about. Avo says, a lot of Cavs fans seem to have a consensus that we will roll our way through the first and second rounds with ease and reach the Eastern Conference Finals with Boston. But I'm not 100% convinced. I still think this Cavs team will get there, but I think it's most likely that the Bucks matchup or the Magic matchup could reach 6 or 7 games and gas out the team before reaching the Eastern Conference Finals. If this team is focused, they should run through the Magic and the Bucks. They should. No doubt. A healthy and focused Cavs team, they should run through 5 games, 4 or 5 games with the Magic, 5 games with the Bucks, out of respecting Giannis, right? But they should run through. They're better teams than both those teams. If they're focused, they should beat them. And they should beat them pretty easily, especially if they're healthy. So not that I'm expecting them to roll through it, right? But if they don't roll through and it's like, they're not focused for whatever reason, that's why. But if the Cavs are focused, they should, but that's what they have to be. All right, next question comes from R. Spiller, who says, Or Speller, my bad. Why have the Cavs been playing not so good in the last few games since playing Boston on February 28th? I think you hit on something. They beat Boston. And then since that win against Boston, the focus has been dipping a little bit because that was like the regular season goal was to, at least tie with Boston throughout the series. That was when the game stopped being on ESPN. That's when the attention started to dip down. And quite frankly, the importance of a lot of these games started to dip down. Now, to be fair to this Cavs team, they have been running on high intensity mode since the start of the All-Star break. And Kenny's done a great job of pushing that. Maybe they needed a couple of weeks to get this shit out their system. And I think that might be what it is, right? They need to get this out their system. And then once they get back home in Cleveland, they'll jump back on and be right for what they need to be. But that's it for Q&A. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.